by the fact that I would say 90% of these men live in a completely different communications ecosystem than the three of us do. I mean, we're on the phones, we're on the computers, we're reading all this stuff, we're writing all of this stuff. They're not doing that in the main. They're talking to each other, but they're not people who are looking at their cell phone every moment to see what's going on. They each have very particular local concerns, which is entirely legitimate. And now they're being asked to make a universal judgment. So it's a complex human process in which the assessment of a personality is at least as important as anything that I've written op-ed pieces about since Pope Francis died or anything of the sort.
Is that's Cardinal Raymond Burke, who is from St. Louis and
Wisconsin native.
Oh, Wisconsin, but he served in St. Louis. But he led, if you will, the anti-Francis faction of the church during the last 12 years.
And there are 10 American cardinal electors taking part in this process. We're joined now by our Vatican analyst, Christopher White, who is a Vatican correspondent for National Catholic Reporter. Christopher, we thank you for coming on. I'd like you to get your reflections at this moment, how different or not different this process is in your observations.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Lester, what we've had, for days now. It's just constant buzz, all sorts of reports coming out, dinners taking place late at night, social media influencing this. And now, as we watch them take this oath, it becomes very somber and a very serious moment where you see them thinking under some pretty impressive surroundings about the weight of the decision that faces them. So the activity of the past few weeks really almost goes out the window as we watch these men take the oath right now.
And Christopher, what are the concerns about the state of the church right now? We had talked earlier about, among other things, the Pope has to be an administrator to run this sprawling organization.
Yeah, it's so complex. There are the external issues facing the church. So the next pope is going to have to speak to the issues in the Holy Land and the war in Ukraine and persecution of Christians around the world, migration, the environment. So many issues that Pope Francis, championed from the very beginning of his papacy. But then, of course, the issues in-house are large. The next pope is going to have to deal with a massive Vatican budget deficit. He's going to have to continue to try to tackle clergy sex abuse. So the issues of governance are, of course, on top of many cardinals' minds. So it's about finding the right balance, finding the profile of the person that could do both, that could sort of look internally and externally at the same time. And that's not an easy job. That's why, it's not an enviable task. There's the line in the Conclave film that no sane man would want the papacy, and I think that's widely shared.
Yeah, I wonder if you have a thought on this notion that because they weren't able to stay together in this lead-up time, because there were simply too many of them and not enough places under one roof, will that affect the process? Will there be a call to take their time a little more here?
I think in general there is an appetite for a fairly short conclave. I think there's an apprehension of showing that the church is divided, and one way that they can project unity is a fairly quick consensus process. But I think they will take their time. They may not all be sleeping under the exact same roof, but they'll be sharing meals together, and they've had the opportunity of over the past 10 days or so to get to know each other a bit better. But I think it's one of the things that we heard the cardinals talk about over the past 10 days is that in the coming papacy, they want to have better opportunities to be in the same room together so that when they come together to make big decisions like a conclave, that they know each other a bit better.
We've learned a lot of nuggets about this process and the cardinal electors, including one that we know they have to write their choice by hand, but that some even go as far as disguising their handwriting.
It's true. I don't think that the process is so elaborate that the concern of being able to match a signature with a particular cardinal elector strikes me as a bit, fantastical. But, of course, there are some that want to go to any measure possible to maintain the secrecy of their vote.
And we know this is a secret process.